Hello and welcome to Mindset, Money, Success. And I'm your host, Loraine Marshall. Now, I've had a bit of a break from doing the podcast in the last few weeks. And so today we're starting on season 3 and episode 1. And I have a guest, Dre Baldwin. Now, he has been a professional basketball player. He is now an author and a business coach. And we had a very interesting chat, and I hope that you'll enjoy it. Hello, Dre. I understand that you're an international social media expert, also an author, an entrepreneur, a business coach, and you have a background in athletics. And I believe you were in basketball?
Yes, all of that is true. I don't know if I'll call myself a social media expert, but I am very experienced. I will say that.
Well, that's what Google tells me.
Oh, all right. Well, then it's true.
Okay. So it's good to have you here.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. So the podcast is Mindset, Money, Success. And
Mhm.
I'm interested to find out from you how you found success, because obviously a lot of people have got a lot of things that go on in their background when they're at school, like, and getting into adulthood. And some people can lose track of like their goals, ambitions, and what they want to do. So how did you achieve what you've actually achieved so far?
Well, I wasn't really, Loraine, looking for success, quote unquote. There were certain things that I wanted to do, and over time, as I came across new things, I would pursue them and go after them. But I wasn't looking at it as, hey, I have to do these 3 things in order to say that now I'm a success, because success is a process of going after things that you want. It's not a destination. It's not some point that you get to that, okay, now, hey, I'm successful.
So what is it that sort of got you to where you are today?
Well, I mean, I started off, the first thing I really wanted to do from my teenage years was play sports. And then the sports led to starting to get my name on the internet because I started putting video of myself practicing online. That was not a strategy. It was just something that I did, and then I saw that there was an opportunity, so then I took advantage of that. The basketball stuff led to me, well, actually before basketball, I was always had my eyes open when it came to sales, which led to entrepreneurship. Eventually, the basketball led to talking about mindset because the athletes were asking. The mindset piece led to me talking to business professionals and entrepreneurs because they could use the mindset stuff that athletes use in their own endeavors. And that led to me learning more about business because I was getting into business myself. Eventually, got to stop playing basketball, can't play forever. And then there was opportunity for books, self-publishing books, making my own courses, programs, coaching, etc. So one thing just kind of led to another. I think the biggest thing, Loraine, to answer your question is that I always kept my eyes open and my mind open to possibilities of what could possibly come next. So when I see something coming, I look at it and ask myself, how can I take my current aptitudes and my current skills and resources, and is there a way I can add value to the world with the tools I have and using this new thing that I found out about? So self-publishing, YouTube,
Yes.
making courses, marketing, selling. Every time I learn something new, I ask myself, is there a way I can apply this and utilize it to move myself further? So that's all I would do. And if I got a positive answer, I would just go do it.
That's fantastic. I mean, I think I've been on a similar journey over the years.
Mhm.
I actually very motivated technology wise, new skills that come up. I mean, I'm now 65 and I'm looking at AI and the opportunities that AI is presenting. So, have
Right.
you looked at AI in your sort of business life, your coaching life, and things?
We've done more than look into it. It's actively being used. So we have AI. Well, of course, you can use AI to do what now I guess would be simple, which is textual things like writing emails, maybe handling some replies, organizing things, finding data and information. Just started just this week, deploying voice agents. You know what those are?
Well, I know that you can clone your voice and you can clone your image, and there's lots of people who have done that already. Obviously, quite a lot of international business coaches have cloned themselves and they've got their own AI coach model thing that they can sell and package. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
haven't
that
done it for
there,
myself yet.
yeah, I haven't done that. That when I say voice agents, what I'm talking about here is you can have an AI agent that's not you, is not pretending to be you, but it's someone else. But they can make phone calls on your behalf and they can have actual conversations based on the programming that you give it on your behalf. So we can go to our CRM and have the voice agent call our leads instead of sending a human to call the lead. So it basically saves you a ton of time. It can
That
schedule
is
things for you. That's the
that
next thing we're
that's
working
a
on.
big thing. That is a
Yeah.
big thing to have a voice agent that can actually call the leads.
Yeah. And they're their
'Cause
own
that's a
entity. So
big
they're
fear
not.
for some people, you know, for calling leads. That's sometimes a really big fear for people.
Yes, and I think it's good because it saves time, but it also
Yeah.
can be a detriment to the people who never had to get on the phone because now they'll never develop the skill. I've gotten on the phone, I've done cold calling, I've knocked on doors. So if you've never done it, then deploying the voice agent, you still never get the skill of actually doing it. I think people still need to do it because it develops you as a person and as a salesperson specifically. But the
Yes.
agent, I think, is going to eliminate that from the skill set of 50 years from now, nobody's going to have that skill.
Yeah, I think it's a skill that has to be developed. And I remember a long, long time back, right? It's an independent distributor when the multi-level marketing thing, that
Mhm.
was one of the things that you will learn as a skill because lead generation was the main type of the business in multi-level marketing. And
Right.
then you had to call the leads because if you were going to make any money at all, you would have to be able to get on that phone when
That's right.
anyone is like left their telephone number, then you
Mhm.
would have to get back and start to ring them. And that's how I actually started my first business, just by collecting a lot of numbers from windows, driving around the streets. Most of the people were advertising their properties via a piece of paper
Mhm.
stuck in the window. And that's what I did. So I did learn that little skill, but I still have a fear. I don't know why. So
Yeah, there's
yeah,
the anxiety that's there when you know you're interrupting a person who you don't know, they don't know you, and you got to see what happens.
exactly. And it's cold calling as well. So that's even more difficult, I suppose. When
Yes.
it's a warm lead, I guess it's easier.
Yeah, it warms a
So
bit easier.
that's,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So tell me a bit more about your business coaching and how you've developed into that side of things.
Well, the business coaching came from as I was making content talking mostly to athletes, basketball players. They started asking about the mindset side that they needed for basketball. So when I started talking, Loraine, about discipline and confidence, mental toughness, personal initiative, preparation, trying to take motivation but convert it into discipline so that you can show up consistently doing your job. It was made for the athletes, but it's not like I put out content and said only athletes can listen to it. So people who didn't play sports started finding the content and they would say,
Hmm.
hey, I'm not an athlete, but the stuff you're talking about applies to me as well. And I realized that people in the professional world, not athletes, needed mindset help just as much as the athletes did. So that was a light bulb moment for me where I said, okay, I can be the guy who played sports, but I took the sports experience and I started helping business people with it because they want to think like athletes anyway. They just like that concept. I want to think like an athlete. So that was the idea that I had. And as I started working with business people on those things, I realized that business people had more issues, additional issues besides mindset. A lot of them had no clear strategy. A lot of them were not good at systems. A lot of them were not good at following through and executing. Mindset was one of the issues, but they had other issues as well. And it was not endemic to a specific industry. So me, I work with a lot of business professionals and business people and organizations in a lot of different industries, not because I'm an expert in any of their industries, but because I'm an expert in the things that I know, the mindset, strategy, the leadership, the execution, putting the systems in place. Those things are
Yes.
universal needs in all businesses. So as I worked with more people, I realized that these same problems keep coming up over and over again as a pattern. And that's what my coaching and consulting and enterprise work is based on.
Yes. So have you published books in that niche area?
Yeah, well, in total, I have 43 books to date. So
43 books.
yeah,
Right. That's a lot
yes,
of books.
That is a lot of books. So some of them are mindset based. There are some that are very niche. Some are about playing basketball professionally, like the business side of it and the strategic side of it, leadership, communication skills, mindset things. And in those strategy systems area, there's one I'm working on right now. So I think maybe we'll be up to 44 at some point whenever I get around to editing that one. It's pretty long. But
Yeah.
overall, the biggest thing in that at that level, a lot of those people don't always want to read books because the books are more what I found, Loraine, more on a consumer level, like an individual person who might be listening to this and they like my stuff, they'll go read a book. But at the
Yeah.
business enterprise level, they don't really want a book. What they want is a system, a solution, something that can enhance their current systems or processes to make things work. Because the book, I mean, people will read it, but then they forget about it a week later after they finish reading it. They may like it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't last as long. So at the company level, book is not really the solution for them, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense to me because obviously they can read the book, but they might not implement anything. But if
Exactly.
it's in a step-by-step process,
Right.
then they can say, what's step one? Let's do that. What's step
Yes.
two? Now I do this. So yeah, I can understand that because I've
Mhm.
I've been through that process a few times myself with
Yes, exactly.
starting the businesses and trying to get into the different spaces that I'm looking at now. So yeah.
Right.
So have you got any other stories that you can tell us? I mean, because sometimes, along with side success, people can find that um, things happen in the past that, they've got a story that something's gone wrong. It's like, it's not all good.
Mhm. Sure. Well, there are plenty of them. We go back, I mean, let's say the last 20 or so years, just trying to get into, to just tell you business wise, to get into playing basketball professionally. I came out of a Division III college, which is the third tier of college sports in the USA. And I knew I would probably be playing abroad somewhere in America. Abroad is Europe. So I figured that's where my career would be going, but I didn't know anybody over there and nobody knew me. And in the countries that I might be playing in, I didn't even speak the language. So it's not like I can call them. I can't cold call somebody, they're not speaking English. So I
Yes.
had to find an agent. An agent is the middleman in the sports world, the same way that they work in the literary world or the acting world. They are the go between the jobs and the people who want jobs. So I had to find an agent. So when I got some game footage from an exposure camp I went to, which is like a job fair for athletes, this is a place
Hmm.
that any athlete who thinks they're good enough to play pro, but they're not playing right now, or they want better opportunities. They go to one of these events, and if you play well, you get the footage, you get a scouting report, and you can use that as leverage to get your next opportunity. So I went to one of those events in 2005, and I played pretty well at the event. So I had a good scouting report that said, "Hey, this guy is pretty good," and I had footage. So then I started cold calling basketball agents. So this was my real first experience doing real cold calling. Before that, I'd
Yeah.
done calling, but it was warm calling. I
Hmm.
dabbled in MLM when I was in college, but I was only, when you first get in, they tell you to call your friends and family. So they all know me when I'm calling them. When I called the agents, I was calling people who didn't know me. And
Yes.
I'm trying to sell them on representing me to be my agent to help me get a job. Now, again, for people who don't understand how agents work, having an agent does not mean that you have a job and you don't get paid for having an agent. Agent just decides to represent you and try to get you a job. If you get a job,
Mm.
then you get paid and they get paid. But if you don't get a job, you don't get paid. So agents don't represent just anybody. They represent people who look like they might get a job. So I had to sell myself to the agents as, hey, I'm job worthy. I need you to represent me and talk to these teams in Europe because you know them and I don't. So this is an uphill selling sales job, if you understand what I'm framing here. I went
Yes.
on Google and I looked up 60, I found 60 basketball agents. Anybody who had basketball agent like website, just Google. They had a phone number, I called them. They had an email, I emailed them. And I got contact with 60. Those 60, I told them what I had and who I was. I have this footage, I have the scouting report. They said send it to me. So I sent them the footage and the scouting report. Now, the scouting report was a link from the website of the exposure camp that I had gone to. The footage, mind you, this is 2005. This is not a
Yeah.
link. This is a VHS tape. You remember those,
Oh
Loraine, the
my.
VHS?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was a VHS tape. Now I had to make copies of the master tape. So I had a double decker VCR at home. So anybody listening to this who's under the age of 30, you can Google this and you can see it or ask your parents, they'll tell you what it looks like. I was making copies of the VHS tape and mailing the copied tape to the agents who were asking. So literally in the physical mail, mailing these tapes out. I sent the tape to the 20 agents I was able to reach who said, send me the tape. There's 40 I couldn't even reach. You cold call everybody doesn't answer the phone.
Yeah.
So those 20 who I sent the videos to, one I was able to reconnect with, and that one said, I will represent you. He became my agent. And that's how I got my first job. That was in Kaunas, Lithuania in 2005. So that's how I got started playing, by having to cold call agents to get my first opportunity.
So 60 numbers of contacts, and then you're ringing
20
them or
conversations.
emailing. Oh
Right.
my, yeah,
Oh,
it's a
20, yeah,
lot.
20 mailed out. So what was that? 133% said, let's move to the appointment. Let's call that the appointment. And then out of that 21. So 1 out of 20, what's that? 5%? 4%? 5%.
Can't remember. I don't know. I'm not a maths person, but
5%.
I remember like going through something similar with property management, because I knew when you've got a property that's empty and you've got so many viewings, after so many viewings, you knew that one of these viewings would be the person who would take the property. So it was like,
Right.
for me, it was 1 in 5. If I did 5 viewings, the house would be gone because one of those 5 would take the property. That's how I worked it.
Right. So I was 1 in 20.
It's true. But you've got to be, what's the word? You've got to be motivated to do that. You've got to be motivated and have like that mindset to keep going, because rejection sometimes can put people off. And if you haven't got that mindset to think, right, that's, oh God, I can't face this, I don't want to do it again. I think that's one of the things that puts people off, isn't it? When they go through rejection after rejection without getting any result, I think.
Yes. So it's motivation is the thing that can be the impetus to get you started, but that motivation has to somehow be converted into discipline and some type of structure, because you can be motivated. A lot of athletes are motivated to try to play professionally because it's a great job. It's the best job I've ever had. It's even better than being an entrepreneur. There's a lot less work. But not everybody can get the job. Everybody's trying to get the job, and not everybody gets the job. So the motivation is, I want the job, but motivation alone doesn't come up with an idea or a system, and it definitely doesn't make you follow the system. So the system that I came up with was, let me go find agents, because I know I can't call these teams myself. Let me figure out, what am I going to do? All right, I found an agent. What do I do? Do I email them? Okay, what do I say in the email? Do I call them? What do I say if they answer the phone? Then if I talk to them, what do I offer them to get them interested in representing me? Because agents usually already have players they represent. So why should they take me on as another player to have in their stable? They don't need me. So I had to think of all these things. That requires some level of structure, some level of logic. You got to think about that. That's not motivation alone. Now, once the motivation got me started and I came up with the ideas, now I had to actually follow my structure and follow my plan, because this wasn't some overnight thing. It's not like I called agents on Monday and I had a contract by Tuesday. This is a process. I'm calling, wait for somebody to call me back, email me back. They said, send me the footage. Again, this is not an email. So you got to physically mail it. It may take a few days before they get it. Now I have to wait till they get it. Maybe they'll watch it, maybe they won't. And most of those tapes, nobody wrote me back. So I was sending out tapes and getting nothing back. So all of this, and then I had to follow up. So everybody I sent the tape to, I had to remember, okay, I sent one to him. Let me follow him up. Let me follow up. 20 follow-ups. I got one response. So this is, it takes a high level of discipline, and what most people call discipline is the behavior. Discipline, people assign it to the person, but discipline is actually assigned to the behavior. So the action was discipline. And because I was able to do that, I put myself in a position to possibly have something happen. But again, it wasn't guaranteed that was going to happen from the beginning. It's only after it happened. Now that it happened, I can tell that story and it sounds great because you know how it ended. But a lot of people might do the same thing and not get anything out of it.
Yeah, it could be 100 and still haven't got anywhere.
Exactly. And they may never play.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think obviously then you've got to have this thing that tells you that when do I stop? If you're going on and nothing happens, do you actually stop? and think maybe this is not for me and I have to do something else, because that's another thing that people get stuck in a thing. And a lot of marketers and business entrepreneurs will like have a shiny object syndrome,
Hmm.
where they go after one thing and they're going along for weeks or months or a couple of years or something. And if they don't get anywhere within that time, then they'll think, oh, well, that's not working. I'll just do that instead. And they go after another thing, which is just another shiny object. Because I know I've done that myself.
All humans have shiny object syndrome. And these days, it's not even just objects. Now it's information. I call it shiny information syndrome. And that's what a lot
True.
of humans have these days. And especially entrepreneurs, to credit what you're saying, because entrepreneurs, we have a ton of ideas. And when we see a shiny new idea, we think about how can we use it? How could I apply that? Maybe that can help me do this. Maybe I can do something new over here. So entrepreneurs, we are highly susceptible to this because we already have this idea in our heads that we can make something out of nothing. That's kind of what entrepreneurship is. So for us, yes, it is. You do have to stay on that program. And to the other thing that you were saying is that there's no science and there's no direct guaranteed formula to know how many times do you try before you give up and go do something else, because maybe you are doing something that's not going to work.
Mm.
Or how do you know the difference between you're doing something that is never going to work no matter how hard you try, or you're doing something that is going to work if you just try a little bit more? At
Mm.
some point you run out of time to keep trying a little bit more. You have to make a decision. Do I stay here and keep doing this, make adjustments, change my approach? Or am I just playing the completely wrong game and I need to do something completely different than what I'm doing? There's no science to answer that question accurately 100% of the time. And a lot of times people, I'm sure you've had people come to you posing this exact challenge. I've had people come to me posing this challenge, whether in business, whether in their professional careers or as entrepreneurs, as athletes. Do I keep trying to play this sport? Or should I try to do something else? Am I in the right place or not? There's no direct answer. What I tell people is that as long as you can see the vision in your head, as long as you're still excited to keep trying, and as long as you're looking forward to showing up the next day and doing it, then keep going at it. Because
Mm.
I'm a person who did something that, again, one in a million get a chance to do. And then I went and
Yeah.
became an entrepreneur, something that a lot of people don't last in either. I'm never going to tell somebody give up just because, but you also have to consider life is finite. You don't have forever. You can't keep
Yeah.
trying something forever, because by the time you move on to the next thing, the opportunity in the next thing may be gone. So for
Mm.
me, before basketball, I played baseball for several years as a sport, but I wasn't that good at baseball. Now, I think if I had kept trying and worked hard, I could have gotten marginally better. I could have been a mediocre high school baseball player, but I never would have played in college. I would not have played pro. I wasn't that good.
Mm.
In basketball, I was in what we call it over here is being in the right vehicle. So
Yeah.
you can have a whole lot of gas and you can have a lot of motivation, but if you're driving the wrong car, it's going the wrong direction. It doesn't matter how hard you press on the gas pedal. You're in the wrong
Yes.
vehicle. So you got to get in the right
Yes.
vehicle. So even entrepreneurs, how many businesses, I'm sure with you, how many businesses did you try before you got to the one that made the most sense for you? Right? Most
Yeah.
entrepreneurs are not the first one. Right? We try a bunch,
Exactly.
right, before we land on that one thing. So you got to find that right vehicle, and also understand as entrepreneurs, there's not only no safety net, but also there's nobody above you with authority that can tell you, is going to tell you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. You have to make your own independent decisions as to what to cut, what to keep, what to do more of, what to do less of, when to move, when to pivot, when to not. And you might be wrong. And you have to
Yeah.
accept, you have to accept that risk. That's what entrepreneurship is.
It is a risk. It's
Mhm.
huge risk, but
Mhm.
I think because you got the belief in what you want to
Mhm.
do, then when that belief is there, you will keep going. I mean, when I had the idea, I want to write a book, and it came in, and I spoke it more or less directly as soon as the idea came.
Mhm.
I didn't start writing that book until a few months later, but when I started to write the book, it was like a process where I would do a lot and then stop, procrastinate for a long time, start again, write, and then stop. So it was start, stop, start, stop. And then eventually, within what I think it was a year, Started in April 2021 and I finished and published it in May 2022. So I actually got the book done. But I know that in the scheme of things, a lot of people will say, I'm going to write a book. And 5 years later, they've still got the manuscript and it's never been published.
Right.
So there's something that must, like, it's a driver to actually say that this is the idea I've got, but I wanted to complete and finish it so that you've done it. Now I've got 3 books that I'm actually publishing this year.
Wow.
And it's a sequel to one that I've already published, which is under a pen name. I don't
Mm.
know if you realise that I've got a pen name when I published. And then I've got 2 more books that I'm actually publishing in this year, but in my name, because I'm pivoting into a different type of business, which I've never done before. The mentorship, the coaching side of things, because I'm 65 and I've got a lot of life experience in all sorts of different things. Then that's what I'm looking to go into and open up a membership group, which is the next thing I'm looking at. So, as
Okay.
an entrepreneur, I know how difficult it can be, but also I know that you've got to have that mindset and you've got to be thinking, well, if you go ahead with an idea and if it's not quite working, you can pivot it. But also, there's people out there who've already done what you want to do. So you can find somebody who is who's done what you want to do and then connect with network with those people in order to get the coaching, get the information, and get the ideas. Because I remember a long time ago when I was setting up my first business in property management, and the internet and the World Wide Web was only like a little baby at the time. And I actually got a coach to help
Mm.
us to create a website for the business that I had. Now, in the north of England, where I was located, there wasn't a lot of businesses that even had websites, like especially rental agents and things. There wasn't hardly any that had websites that were advertising the properties for student accommodation and rentals like that. So I think I must have been one of the first ones to have a website in 2006.
Mm.
2006,
Yeah, it's
one of
very
the
early.
first.
Those
Yeah,
early website days.
it was. But I had to get someone who actually was already in that space and creating websites. Wasn't property management,
Right.
but she was creating websites. So I just got the coaching. So that's another way that entrepreneurs can get ahead of the game, I guess, get ahead of the ball where, and what's happening.
Yeah.
So did you actually find a coach? Because obviously in sports and athletics, coaching is huge, isn't it? I mean, not just having an agent,
Mm.
lots of professional sports people use coaching and for the mindset. I mean, just going back from when I was a child, and I remember Muhammad Ali used to always put out stories in before he was going to do a big fight. There'd be all of the publicity around it, and he would say, "I'm going to knock out such and such in this round," da, 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 da. And he would meditate on that before the fight, and then that's when he was at his peak and he would do it. And the same with another sports personality who did a golf personality, he used to do exactly the same thing because he used to visualize how that he was going to hit the golf ball in the right angle and everything, and that ball's going to travel all that way and he's going to, win this round of golf. Does that come into play? Did you have coach at the start, or was it just something that you knew and intuitively that it was something that you could do,
As
visualizing?
as a player in team sports, you have coaches built into the system. So any team already has a coach. As far as me individually, athletes often have trainers is usually what they usually are billed as trainers. And there are coaches who do like mindset coaching and visualization coaching. I never used that as a player. I personally didn't really need that. I could actually coach other players more than I needed to be coached. But as far as the training, the athletic movements and the body, the physical, yes, I had worked with a lot of different trainers when it came to that. And then on the team, you actually have a coach who's dictating how everybody plays. So for the training side, the physical side, a lot of athletes invest in that. It almost comes standard. And depending on the level that you're playing at, the teams will often have a large staff of physical trainers who can help you with stuff. And depending on the league you're playing in, let's say the high level soccer clubs, basketball, NFL, football, American football, they have a lot of people on their staff who will help you with the mindset, the physical, all of that. It's built into it because there's so much money invested in the teams. Now, the level that I was playing at, the teams weren't that big. They didn't have that much of a staff for that stuff. So the physical part was a big deal because there's a lot of athletes out there who are hungry to take any job opportunity they can get, up to and including yours. So you got to make sure you're physically in that right space to do what you need to do. And you can't really afford to get injured because you might not get your job back by the time you come back to play. Somebody else may have taken that spot and you weren't playing. So that investment, the biggest thing you learn from it all, whether it's mindset, physical, or both, is the investment that you have to make into something that you want to make you money. You got to make some type of investment on the front end to get money on the back end.
Yes. And sometimes you can make a lot of investment on the front end before you get any rewards back as well, depending on the type of business that you're going into.
That's true.
I mean, I know I didn't have to do that because basically I were bootstrapping at the beginning. So
right.
I think creating a business out of practically fresh air. So
yes.
Yeah. But with all this new technology and everything, I think there's a lot of businesses that actually need to find the funds, so they actually have to go in front and pitch to angel investors and to get the money together to actually start whatever business it is that they're looking to do. Certain groups of people are disadvantaged in because I think, and women as a whole don't get in front of angel investors as much as men do. And I don't know, but there's obviously I don't know if it's the women themselves that hold themselves back or if it's just that the men are more confident to go out there and pitch to get investments. So I'm not quite sure what the thing is, but I do know that there is a disparity between the men being able to get the funds and the women who just go for small amounts of.
Well, I think it's a combination of both. It's both. The women, there are not as many women in business in general, and the women may not have the confidence to go after it as much. The angel investors or capital people are usually men themselves. So I think a lot of men feel more comfortable going and pitching themselves to other men than a woman would feel comfortable pitching herself to men. So the outcome, the disparity is a real thing, but I think the disparity reason is more just the structure of the way maybe women in general think biologically, and the way men think, and the fact that there are just fewer women in business as a whole. But I don't think it's because the men, if I'm a angel investor and I want to make money back from a business, I don't care who runs the business. If it's going to make me money, I'm involved. So I'm interested. So it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman.
It's been really nice having this conversation with you, Dre.
Well, I hope your audience gets a lot of value from the conversation. Be happy to do it again anytime. My recording.
Yes. All right. Great talking to you.
Great. Have a good day. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.